Hey everyone, so I'm back again with another video, and as you can see, this is not my normal setup. Normally I have a digital format for you guys, but this is going to be a little different because I'm going to talk about my kind of weird misprint history, or kind of the weird misprint card that I had from the Storm of Ragnarök. Now, I've had this special edition. It's actually the big old special edition box of Storm of Ragnarök, and I've had it in a cupboard for pretty much years, ever since it came out. And I've never really talked about this weird misprint kind of that I got out of one of the packs, so this kind of got me thinking that I should probably talk about it and be kind of interesting, being that I haven't looked at this kind of misprint for a long time. So what am I talking about? Well, I guess we'll set it here. It all starts with this card. Now, this one isn't really the misprint. I guess it kind of is, since, I mean, you can kind of vaguely tell. Well, not on the camera, but if you saw it in person, you can kind of tell it's not quite centered. It's a really small non-centered issue. But the one I really wanted to show you is this one, Vortex of the Whirlwind. This one is the crazy, I guess, misprint that you could say. You can see like the whole border there is missing, except for that little sliver. There's just like kind of like that small line right there. But other than that, this border is pretty much over exaggerated, as well as the top border and even the bottom of it. So I guess if you put these like side by side, you can kind of see that obviously they don't match up. But I always thought this was interesting, and I mean, if you guys don't see, it's a card that's basically meant for black wings, although it wasn't technically a black wing. But you can kind of look at the effect, and it's kind of outdated by now, I guess, today's standards. But basically, this was one of the cool cards I got out of it. I've always liked this card just by its own effect, because it has black wings in mind. But other than that, it was cool to get another, I guess, version of it, but it was also like a misprint. I don't know if this is really valuable, because, I mean, it's not a really highly sought after card, but especially if it has like a huge kind of missing border on it, I really have no idea how much that's worth in general. But other cool cards, I guess you could say, I got out of it are things like Loki, Lord of the Aesir. And this is the reason why I like this set in general. Even though this set wasn't the best in terms of value, it had a lot of really cool cards in it, kind of like these misprints. And this was really one of the first sets that I've really encountered misprints. I mean, I know other sets had misprints, like I guess the Rainbow Dragon, where it had like, I forget what it was called. It had like Chaos Neos. I forget which one it was. I think Chaos Neos had Rainbow Dragon's name on its card text. Something like that. But I've seen it around. You know what I'm talking about if you looked into it. But it had cool misprints like this. And I got actually the ultimate rare Loki, Lord of the Aesir. And another thing is, it printed one of my favorite cards, Odin, Father of the Aesir, in kind of like ghost rare. And so this is kind of what I mean about this set. This set really expands on kind of like the Norse mythology, and I've always been really interested in Norse mythology. And I really like the kind of detail they put into this set. And I don't know, things like Odin, especially how you can kind of see it, you can see his kind of image a little better there. That's always the effect I like with these ghost rares. And it's great that they made the kind of center, I guess, well, that's what they had in mind. They made the central, like, cover card or monster, kind of like the ghost rare back then. Now we kind of get, like, ghost rares on and off. They're not really in, like, every set, but yeah, this is one of the sets that I've always really liked, because I kind of like the strategy that, I guess, Nordics often deploy, even though they're not the best strategy out there. But especially when I watch the anime, the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's anime, I always thought it would be cool to kind of build this deck that kind of had like these three really powerful monsters, and they were kind of like based off the Norse mythology. That was really cool. That's what I really appreciated about, I guess, 5Ds, because it really kind of gave almost a mythical kind of appeal to these, I guess, cards in general. But obviously this isn't going to be a really long video. This is just me kind of like talking about my appreciation for this set. But if you've never seen how these special editions kind of look on the inside, I'll try to show off a little bit how they look on the inside. So normally you'd put this part, you'd flip it inverted. can't quite do that because of my camera setup, but you have a bunch, basically, yeah, like 5 of these mini boxes on each side, so you get like 10 in general. And I think these came with a promo card. I'm not too sure. Yeah, 1 of 2 super variant rare cards. But that's basically, this is what I loved about these special editions. It's kind of like a bummer that they really stopped making these special editions. And I thought this was one of the ones that I would kind of showcase for you guys today, because this is probably one of the most special, I guess, special editions, I guess, to me, because this is the one really where I have most memories of. I'd go with my friend to the Carl's Jr., and we'd kind of sit there and we got like a couple of these boxes. I threw some of them away, but I wanted to keep at least one, just to kind of have almost like a collector's kind of value to it, even though it's probably never going to have a value to it, because I don't know, who wants an empty box? But I guess it was kind of cool in my eyes, because I don't know, like if you just look at the art right here, it's kind of cool. But I don't know, I always thought Norse mythology has been cool, and I just kind of really remember those times where we'd go to the Carl Jr. and we'd just bust up in some packs and we'd have some good times. And yeah, that's kind of why I want to make this video. So it's kind of more of a nostalgic video in general. It's not more of my like discussion based. I guess it's kind of like a weird kind of review, almost like a throwback in time when this box came out. And that's kind of crazy to think it's been out for as long as it has. And yeah, I mean, whew, looking back at the game it was back then, it was a lot slower, and honestly, it was pretty enjoyable for me. I thought the game was going to stay at that rate, but obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh! Just ramps up. But yeah, I pretty much remember all like the cool cards I pulled from this set, and it's really kind of like looking back at good old times, and I just kind of wondered like, oh, I could put this in my deck. I remember when I got Glipnir, I'm like, okay, this is probably the card that I'm going to be going to. That's pretty much the heart and soul of this deck that I'm going to make, because I wanted to build like a Nordic god deck. And I got all the other Norse monsters, but I slowly realized it wasn't the best deck. And I mean, that didn't deter me from playing the deck. I ultimately liked the deck, and I knew it wasn't going to be top tier. And I mean, I kind of just played it for the fun of it. And so that's kind of, I guess, my nostalgia on it, you could say. But on top of that, not just building the deck, it just basically had a whole slew of cool cards that I didn't even use, and especially because it revolved around the Norse mythology and kind of like the characters in 5Ds, it kind of made it all more memorable, especially since I was in like high school back then, and this is kind of what I did on my spare time on top from school. But that's pretty much the impact it had on me from back then. But before I ramble on enough, I just wanted to showcase this set and just kind of give my thoughts on it, since this was one of the most impactful sets among many that has come across with me, that I've kind of encountered in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I just want to touch upon this and kind of give, I guess, almost my insights on this kind of set in general. But with that, thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on social media. If you really enjoy content like this, you can support me on Patreon. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Alright, take care.